Yeah, we're looking forward to getting on the floor again with another game. Trying to continue to build what we felt like we got better on against Missouri. We felt like we played really good basketball for 32 minutes against Missouri. We just the start of the game, the start of the second half, were poor start. So we're trying to fix that. Talked about it. Georgia's a team that's obviously record's not great right now, but they've been in a lot of the games. I mean, you look, they're on the road at Kentucky. They're in that game for the majority of the game. Kentucky opened it up late, and that's not the only game they've been in late in the game. So they've got the capability of beating a team. They're going to win, a game here soon against somebody that they're not picked to win it against. And we've shown that we're capable of being upset just with our lack of effort on the defensive end at times. So we've been trying to talk to our guys about that. I thought some of our leaders on the team were really good in practice today, trying to make sure we did go hard. That we obviously our scout team's not Georgia, but I thought we had some good effort in practice this morning.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and get started with Charlie Potter.
Yeah, Coach, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Piggybacking off of what you said in your opening, just given Georgia's record, how much are you kind of emphasizing the guys not to overlook them, especially with the 3-game stretch you kind of coming up after the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I hope they're not looking at anybody past Georgia. I mean, we've shown we're capable of losing to anybody on our schedule. So we've just been trying to stress to them what we feel like we've got to get better at and what Georgia's good at, how we're going to guard Georgia, how we're going to attack Georgia. So we haven't talked about the next games on the schedule. I hope they don't even know who they are, to be honest with you. I'd rather they just focus on the team in front of us and focus on what we have to do to get better. I think if we do that, we'll take care of business at hand, and then we'll worry about the next one. We're really just trying to go 1-0 for the rest of the year and not focus too much on the big picture, if you will.
Nick Kelly.
Yeah, Javon Quinterly coming off the bench 2 games now. Obviously, it was only like 90 seconds for the Missouri game, but what have you thought so far about just kind of his efforts now that you have a few games with him coming off the bench? And is that something you guys are going to stick with moving forward?
Yeah, I plan on it. He's played great. I mean, like I tell the guys, coming off the bench doesn't mean you're going to play fewer minutes. I think his minutes have been pretty good coming off the bench. So I think maybe it's giving him a different perspective. If he's fortunate enough to go play at high-level basketball after this year, he's, the beginning of his career for sure, he's probably going to have to come off the bench. So it's something that all these guys are going to have to learn how to play off the bench at some point in their careers. So he's done well with it last year. I think he's done well with it in these 2 games. So we're trying to give him and JD both a jump start. I thought JD's first start, wasn't that good, but I thought, against Missouri, he was a lot better. He was a lot more aggressive. So, in the Missouri game, we had them both playing well. So if we can keep both those guys playing well in their particular roles, I think it makes sense to stick with it.
Mike Rodak.
Just how is Juwan coming along since his injury, and just from a big standpoint, just what have you seen development-wise from Keon Ambrose and Chiku so far this year?
Juwan still day-to-day. Didn't do any live stuff in practice today. They're just trying to let that facial contusion heal. I think we've got the face mask, so he'll. It's one of those deals. As soon as he and the trainer feel comfortable that he can go out there without risking anything further happening or deal with the pain of it getting hit through the face shield, he'll be able to play. So he's, but he has not practiced any live stuff yet. Chiku and Ambrose are getting better. Obviously, with Rojas in the rotation, it adds another front court player that's got experience, that's proven to give us something we need. Those guys are continue to improve and get better, and if needed, we'll put them in the game.
Let's go next to Joe Galbraith. Go ahead, Joe.
Coach, you finished the Missouri game on a pretty big run, 18-5 run. Is that something that you are going to be able to, or what can you take from the end of that game that you're going to move going forward into the Georgia game?
Yeah, I think this is 18-5, and I think even before that, I think it was 30-9. So I think what we learned is when we play really hard, like we did at the last 8 minutes or so of that game, we're a pretty good basketball team. And when we don't play that hard, we're not a very good basketball team. So if we can play that hard at the beginning of the game at Georgia, I'd be happy. And the beginning of the second half against Georgia, maybe we've learned some lessons. We've got to have better starts to the halves. We had good finishes to both halves. I think it shows our guys, competitors, though. We didn't lead for much of that game against Missouri, but they closed in a flurry. They turned them over. I think we only had them turned over 5 times at the under 8 media timeouts. So in the last 7.5 minutes of that game or so, we turned them over 6 times. When we play really hard, this is a good basketball team. We played really hard against Gonzaga. We played really hard against Houston. We've chosen not to play as hard in some teams. We got to play hard, play with effort, fly around, make tough plays, make blue-collar plays. When we do that, we're a good basketball team.
All right, let's finish up with Katie Wyndham.
Coach, you mentioned in your opening that you had some leaders at practice today, making sure people are going hard. And a couple of times this year, you've talked about, maturity tests for your team. And where do you feel like your team is maturity-wise heading into this Georgia game, maybe especially after some of the things they've learned these last couple of games?
I think we're improving. We're still not quite there. Our start to the Missouri game, our start to the second half wasn't what we'd like it to be. But for the other 32 minutes, we were really good. I think our defensive efficiency numbers in those other 32 minutes were about a 0.8. So we're getting better. We'll see how far we've come. If we can start the Georgia game and then close the first half, start the second half, close the game, with the same defensive intensity that we played the last 8 minutes against Missouri with. So when we talk about leadership and a maturity test, Shaq was very vocal, talking a lot today. Rojas getting back in the rotation has been huge. He's very vocal, adamant that guys are tough, play hard, talk. I think some guys are starting to. Quinterly's effort's been a lot better. He's been a lot better for the last few weeks now, just overall on a consistent day-to-day basis. Keon Ellis is starting to exert himself a little bit more. And he's flying around. He led us in blue-collar points against Missouri. So, if we can continue to get those guys to speak up, play hard, demand that their teammates play hard, I think we'll be in a good spot here moving forward.
All right. Thank you, Coach.